everybody. Welcome to week 13. Can you believe it's already week 13? And tonight we're going to be looking at element 12. And we do have a couple of new guests here tonight. So just so that it will make sense for you guys, this is what we're doing. This program that we follow has a book. It's called the LifeBook. And there are 26 elements. And part of the reason we started this whole thing is because community is an important part of the program that we run. And we wanted to give people an opportunity to get together, compare notes, encourage each other, support, all of that kind of stuff. And it makes it a little bit easier to be a part of a live presentation and a discussion and everything else when learning things like the elements. So that's the reason we do this health and hope thing, and I'm really glad that you guys are here tonight. We do have a lean and green sampler over there. Should we give everybody a few minutes to go get some? Why don't we do that? We're gonna break. I'll just edit this out, it doesn't matter. All right, so we are unpacking element 12 tonight, and in particular, we're gonna talk about some things that are counterintuitive about the plan that we do, because we all come into this kind of stuff with all kinds of ideas about how to get healthy, how to lose weight, how to get to a better place with our health, right? And the truth is that what we know or what we think we know ain't always so. Sometimes we hear this and we hear that. And the truth is there are a lot of different systems that can produce similar results. And a lot of times what happens is we get a piece from this one and a piece from that one. But the problem is that each one is uniquely designed to work the way that it does in its closed system, with its way of working. Now there are some principles, though, that it doesn't matter what system you're using. There are some things, fake news, call it fake news, wives' tales, whatever you want to call it. There's things that we've heard about our health, or we think we know about our health, that may not be so true. So tonight we're gonna unpack some of those. And here's the thing that makes the things that we're talking about tonight a little bit confusing, is the fact that a lot of these things are critical for our long-term best health. But tonight we're going to talk about timing. We're going to talk about things that are important overall in the long run, but we need to know how to incorporate them at different points on our journey. Okay? So Dr. A, who wrote the book, says this: reaching a healthy weight is our first priority and the most profound change you can make to your health. So part of the reason so much of this revolves around weight loss is not because weight loss is sexy and weight loss is cool and we always all want to look better, but really it's because extra weight, added weight is the most common risk factor that people face. It's also the risk factor that we can do the most about. So when it comes to our health, being overweight or obese adds all kinds of issues. And we find that so many different health problems requiring medication, treatment, surgery, a lot of those kinds of things. The risk factor really affecting them is obesity or being overweight. So we're gonna talk tonight about the importance of getting to a target weight, and we're going to talk about the order of things. How many of you guys have ever gotten a piece of furniture, maybe IKEA or something like that, and it comes in a box? And you got to take that thing out and you got to put it all together. Or maybe it was a toy at Christmas time when your kids were young or something like that, or when you were young. And there's all these instructions, but we're so excited. Why would we want to read the instructions, right? So we throw the instructions off to the side, and I can't tell you how many times I get halfway through a project and I go, now this isn't lining up, and that should be on, and it's not yet, and you find yourself having to go backwards, take the thing back apart, read the instructions, go, oh, I forgot that piece. That piece should have gone in before that piece, because if that piece wasn't in there, when you try to put this piece on, it doesn't line up. And in the same way, there are things that we try to put into our overall health journey. If we put them in at the wrong time, in the wrong order, it'll mess up the process. So those are the things that we're going to talk about tonight. Now, being able to embrace this requires a few things. First of all, it requires us not comparing ourselves to others. One of the things we do is we look at somebody online, maybe a social media influencer, maybe some super fit, really confident person who's got the plan for you to get you in shape and get you where you need to be, right? And you're like going, I want what they got. I want to be there with them. And then they say, okay, jump in, and you start working out, and before you know it, you're throwing up in the garbage can. But sometimes we compare ourselves to others, or we admire others, and we say, I want what they've got, so I'm going to jump in where they're at. Tonight we'll see how that doesn't do us well. All right. The other thing we need to do is we need to stay in our own lane. We've got to run our own journey, right? Our own race. If we keep listening to others, we will only get more confused. Sometimes it's not just that we want to be like somebody else, but this person gives us some advice. Oh, that sounds like good advice. And then this person gives us some advice, and oh yeah, that's me. And they're using this program, and they're using a different program, and pretty soon you're kind of crossing stuff up, and it's, again, the pieces aren't coming together. If you've ever tried to put a piece of furniture together from two different boxes, they weren't the same thing, right? Sometimes that happens. We've also got to trust a plan that works. Got to pick a plan that's solid, and then the next thing is we've got to stick patiently and consistently to the plan, right? There are formulas that work. We need to choose a formula that works. I believe the formula that I train people with works, right? You have to make that decision for yourself. But here's the thing, very smart people have spent thousands of hours and millions of dollars developing these things, right? These precise formulas, and then we go and ish it all away. You guys heard me talk about the 5-in-1-ish program, right? So sometimes we get a specific program, and because we've heard a little bit of this and we've heard a little bit of that, and we see that going on over there, and well, I kind of discovered this on my own. Instead of following a plan, we kind of ish it together, right? We do a little bit of this and a little bit of that and try to make it all work. So we're going to talk about some things that are a little counterintuitive, maybe some things that we've heard put in different ways before, and try to make sense of putting these things in order. These are some of the biggies that people struggle with on our program, and so hopefully some of these things will speak to you tonight. All right, so counterintuitive concept 1. Here's a myth. As a healthy whole food, fruit is always an ideal source of nutrients. This is a perfect example of one of those things that it's all about timing, right? We know that fruit is good for us. And yes, fruit is good for us, right? But the truth is that during the weight loss phase, fruits and other high glycemic carbohydrates will be removed to lower insulin release and induce fat burn. So some people have looked at me and said, if I can't be eating all the whole foods that I want, if I can't be eating healthy fruits and things like that, this just isn't good. There's something wrong with it. Well, here's the deal. It's a formula, right? So no fruit or extra carbohydrates during phase 1 of the program. This includes veggies like potatoes, carrots, corn, rice. These are all starchy. They're high glycemic, and because of that, they will add glucose to our bloodstream so that we don't burn the fat, right? By avoiding fruit, we deprive our body of fructose, which turns to glucose, which depletes our glycogen. Glycogen is what it turns into in our system. That's what our body burns, and forces our body to turn to the fat reserves for energy. So when you eat fruit, high glycemic, you replenish the glycogen, so your body will turn off the fat burning process. And so sometimes I've seen people kind of go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, and that's not good for your body either, right? To deplete it from glycogen for 3 or 4 days, get into the fat burn process, and then eat a piece of cake or eat a handful of fruit or do some things like that. Because then our body goes, oh, phew, we've got our glycogen back, or our glucose. So we can make glycogen, and we can burn glycogen, and your body flips back to that, and then back and forth and back and forth. So if your carbohydrate levels are above a certain threshold, it will stimulate insulin secretion and turn off the fat burning process. That's why it's so important when we say you can't do the 5-in-1-ish plan. It really has to be on point. In addition, the insulin will trigger the fat storage process. So at night when we go to bed, any extra reserves we have, that insulin is going to be part of the process of wanting to store that extra fat. Now you've gone backwards, right? So after the weight loss phase, we want to continue to keep our sugar low to keep insulin levels low. Now, during transition, we do reintroduce fruit. We introduce things like potatoes and carrots and corn. Those things all have health benefits, and we want those things in our diet, but we have to do it at the right time. So this is an image that's in the book that shows how once we have gotten to our target weight, what we want to do is we want to have low-calorie, healthy fuel from food. Glycogen is not a bad thing, and we want that after we've reached our target weight. But if we keep our glucose levels low, even after we've transitioned, then what will happen is our body will burn glucose and continue to burn fat, right? And so that's what helps keep it low. If you increase the carbohydrate level above a certain threshold, it will stimulate insulin secretion and shut down the fat burning process. Okay? Any questions about that? Because I know as we're doing this, and as we've taught you guys, and as you've begun to get into program or whatever, you probably have questions. Is there anything that you guys have questions about?
Is there any fruit, or is it all?
Yeah, pretty much all fruit is gonna have more glucose in it, or it's fructose, but which our body very quickly turns into glycogen, and we use it.
Grapefruit or?
Again, in the spiral bound notebook, if it's not in the notebook, I just defer to the studies that they've done and let them be in charge of that. But yeah, so. Yeah, again, we can return to all of those things once we've reached our target weight, but until then, we want to keep our body in fat burn. What's that?
I said, actually, I was checking on my water now.
Hey, I went all summer last summer without a handful of fresh blueberries. And that was a price I had to pay to get to where I wanted to be. But I wasn't going to screw it up. Now I have blueberries all the time. I got some blueberries from the Hartmans and I put them in a shake and
Avocados.
Yeah.
Is that a fruit or a vegetable? I know it's fat, but it's.
Yeah, those would be considered, I think, a vegetable. I don't know. That's a good question because they grow on a tree like fruit, but they don't have fructose in them, or at least must have very low levels of that. But yeah, it's a fat. Did you guys see that? Did you guys see the little meme I put on my Facebook page it was a couple months ago, so probably not, but there's an avocado, looks, like a female avocado by the way they did her eyes or whatever, and she's running and the guy avocado is kind of chasing after her and saying, I said you're the good kind of fat. All right. Any other questions related to that, the fruit issue? Okay. All right. So, counterintuitive concept number 2. Rigorous exercise is the key to losing weight, so you must exercise as much as possible. Well, again, it's a timing thing. Exercise is very important. As a matter of fact, I'm exercising like crazy right now, and I'm loving it. But there was a phase where I had to stop exercising for a time, and I'll explain why. Truth is, balance your calorie usage with your caloric intake to optimize fat burn. What we need to do is we need to reach a balance. So here's the problem. Too many times, these changes are kind of messing with our body. We have to understand how they're messing with our body. In Psalms, we read, David says, for we are fearfully and wonderfully made. And I think a lot of times we don't really give a lot of thought to the complexity of the bodies that God has given us, right? These bodies are super complex, and sometimes we try to use really, really simple formulas to try to make sense, right? Maybe you've heard before, you just simply have to use more calories than you take in. That's how you lose weight. Well, last spring I put that theory to the test. I worked out a whole bunch, I went for bike rides, I did all kinds of stuff, lowered my calorie intake, and I didn't lose any weight. I think I lost 3 pounds in about 5 months, right? And the reason is because it is not that simple. It's not that simple of a formula. We are much more complex than that. So what we recommend, what Dr. A recommends, is that we have no or reduced exercise for the first 3 weeks of the weight loss stage. Now, that could mean, sorry Terry, it's not personal, it's chemistry, remember?
So I shouldn't be going to the gym right now?
Not necessarily. Let me explain.
Okay.
So what I would say is reduce your exercise for a little bit, right? This could explain some of the things that we talked about at the beginning. I don't know, we'll see. So much like the fruit guideline, it's all about the timing, right? Once you've reached your target weight, that's the time to really kick in your exercise. And as you're balancing out your calorie intake, you can achieve a level of activity that doesn't affect your weight loss or weight gain, but it begins to build strength, endurance, all of those, right? So here's the problem. When your body switches to using fat as a fuel source, it needs time to adjust, right? So fat, when your liver begins to turn fat cells into ketone bodies, it's a different kind of fuel. And so there's a time that your body needs to adjust. That's usually a few weeks, right? If we don't go slow in that adjustment process, we may actually become hypoglycemic, low blood sugar. So I have some people that start program who are very active either at work or in the gym, and man, they are just like dragging. It's like, oh my word, their blood sugar is so low that they're struggling. Okay, so we've got to take that into consideration. Our bodies can also go into conservation mode. This is a form of stress, and our bodies will release cortisol and epinephrine, which will slow weight loss. So our bodies will literally go into, some people liken it to, if their body had its own brain and could think through the process, it would be like, no, we're gonna starve to death. Hold on to every calorie, don't let any of them go. And so even if we're exercising, we're not losing weight because our body is hoarding all of the calories. Now, the way that our body makes up for that is that we become extremely tired. And so we work out in the morning, but crash in the afternoon. And so when our body goes into that conservation mode, it will find a way, if it feels like it's going to starve to death, to conserve every calorie, okay? Or it can go into compensation mode. Some people experience extreme hunger, like they can't, compulsory hunger. I have to eat, and it almost becomes a mental thing. Our body will also release hormones that make us feel extremely hungry in order to motivate us to eat more to make up for the calorie deficit. If followed correctly in this program, cravings should be very manageable. Okay? So this is where I have to give this warning against comparative reality. When we look at someone else's reality, we look at their journey and what's going on for them, and we think, yeah, but I should be able to do that. So maybe, again, we look at that influencer who has the slim, trim body, and man, they are cut, and they look good, and they exercise all the time. That must be the key. Then we are out of our own lane, and we're trying to live someone else's journey, or at least be with someone else in their part of the journey. So here are some guidelines, okay? So if you're currently doing minimal exercise, that's less than 45 minutes of what we would call intense exercise that raises your heart rate, that kind of, if it's weight training, causes you to work all the way to failure on whatever sets. If you're doing minimal exercise, then you need to stay at this level, but plan to start increasing movement at about 3 to 4 weeks into the program. And even then, we want to keep our exercise level below 45 minutes of intense exercise. for that time period, okay? So if you're doing minimal exercise, we actually want you to stay there. This program is really effective and it's really attractive to people who don't like to do exercise. I've seen people lose amazing amounts of weight and not increase their exercise at all. Now, as a health coach, I have mixed feelings about that. I'm really glad for them and glad that they're able to do that. But I do think it's important at some point as we get further down the road, we do want to put in movement. And then ultimately, when we get to our target weight, we really want to increase that to the point where we're building our bodies up, increasing muscle and increasing our ability to do cardiovascular stuff, okay? So if your exercise is currently moderate, that's 45 plus minutes of moderate or heavy exercise a day, then we want to suspend whatever you're doing for 3 to 4 weeks. Drop below that threshold, okay? Do some walking or other moderate exercise, but keep it somewhat minimal. And at 3 to 4 weeks, we want to begin to gradually work back toward the level that you were at before, okay? We want to monitor to make sure we are not experiencing conservation or compensation. Those were the two states that I talked about a little bit earlier, okay? And as you begin to implement workouts, you want to sandwich a high protein fueling on either side of those workouts because your body is going to be calling for more protein. And so we want to make sure that we do that. All right, currently intense. If you're doing heavy lifting, CrossFit, as I look through the room, I'm sure this is going to hit a lot of you. If you're doing CrossFit, has anybody ever done CrossFit? Yeah, you got my joke. I'm sorry, that wasn't nice. CrossFit is intense stuff. That's really intense. Heavy lifting, marathon training, something like that, same as above. Either you want to greatly reduce that to get below that threshold, or if you're like training for a marathon or something, we would recommend that you wait till after the event to start your weight loss program because you're going to have to adjust your exercise for that, okay? So in general, if you're currently real active, cut back until your body is in a solid fat-burning state, a few weeks, and your body has acclimatized. And then once you've achieved that, then begin to work up, making sure that you don't get into either of those states. And so you can gradually increase your exercise. So for me, that's a few of the things that I've experienced. I actually, so my weight fluctuates right now between 152 and 155. It just kind of is back and forth. But what I found is that on days that I work out, and this is crazy, I still have to test the theory because it still doesn't make sense to me. But on days that I work out and cut back on my food, I actually go up in weight. It's nuts, but it is what happens. And then of course I told you my story from last spring. When before I went on program, I was exercising a lot and all of that. It was very frustrating because I just wasn't losing weight no matter how hard I tried. There were some weeks I'd cut way back on my food, increase my exercise. It didn't seem to make any difference. So again, what I thought was so just wasn't, and I had to learn that there are rhythms and patterns that I needed to understand. Okay? So after the first 3 weeks, and this will apply to most of us, our body is ready for increased movement. We're lighter, we have more confidence, our fat burn energy is established, which is a high, it feels like high energy. We feel more energy. I talked to Jerry Beckwith last week, and again, he's just like, man, I'm back in the shop and I'm working on cars and I'm doing things I haven't done for 10 years. And I feel like it. At the end of the day, I feel good about it. And we're also getting healthier. So as we're getting healthier, we want to incorporate more of that activity. Okay? All right, that section. Any questions? I know, Terry, you might have some.
No, I just want to cry.
Yeah, well, and remember, it's like me giving up the blueberries for a whole summer, right? I had to just tell myself, I had to say, okay, I'm gonna see if this thing will work, and it did. Now I'm enjoying blueberries. Same with exercise. I did give up that high-end exercise. I still did stuff around the house and things like that, But going out for the intense bike rides, working out in the gym, I actually let go of my gym membership for a few months. And I lost all that weight, and by the time I lost all the weight, man, I was ready to go. Now I'm working out way more than I was last spring, and I'm at the weight that I need to be at, that I want to be at. So, all right. Any other questions? Okay. Good. Counterintuitive concept number 3, reducing calories enough will ensure weight loss. It's just better to eat as little as possible. Sometimes I hear people saying, I'll do a coach check-in and I'll say, how'd you do on your 5 and 1 today? Well, I only got 3 fuelings in, but actually that's pretty good, right? Because I'm trying to lose weight. Nope, that's not necessarily good. That's not how the formula works, right? So the truth is, I got both these on the same one. There's another myth. Natural whole foods are always the best option for good health. That's another one that we think. If it's whole food, it's got to be good. It's got to be better for us. Again, down the road, yes. Right now, not necessarily so. The truth is we need to manage our metabolism to peak efficiency, and that will help us lose weight and increase our health. Okay? So that's what this program is all about. We talk about the formula all the time. This is a very precise formula, and it's about maximizing the efficiency of your metabolism. It's not simple math. Less calories does not equal more weight loss. We must consume the right kinds of calories at the right times. And we want to make sure that we are getting all of the nutrients that we need, all of the protein, vitamins and minerals, probiotics. We need to make sure that all of the essentials are in there. And unfortunately, a lot of times it's very difficult to do that with whole foods, eating small amounts every 3 hours. That's the rhythm that we need to achieve, but it's hard to do that with whole foods until we've learned how to do that, right? So we're going to use prepackaged, specially formulated fuelings to achieve peak efficiency of our metabolism. The way that the fuelings are designed in the program that we use, you're going to get all of the vitamins and minerals and all of the nutrients that you need in small, balanced format. And so that's why we use that. That's why we recommend that for our clients. People can lose weight without using the product, but it's much, much more difficult, right? So we're gonna, so focusing on whole foods doesn't guarantee weight loss. A lot of us would say, I was eating really healthy before, and I wasn't losing weight, right? And so there's something about this program. So we use fuelings in the beginning because, where did that go? I thought I had that down. Maybe not. Anyway, we use the fuelings in the beginning for a few different reasons. First of all, they're easy. They're quick, they're portable, they're easy to store and carry, and there's no little or no preparation. So a lot of times, I explain it like this. I had a woman who's a nutritionist. I still hope she becomes a coach. But for her, she looked at the prepackaged stuff and she said, no, she's a trained nutritionalist, right? And I get it. And she has this standard for how people should be eating. And she's absolutely 100% right. The problem is most of us are way over here. This is how we've been eating. This is what we know. This is how we've been doing life. And the step between here and here is just way too stinking big. There's too much to understand. There's too many pieces, and it's confusing and it's difficult and all of those things. So the thing that part of what makes this work is it's easy. It's a step. These are simple steps that are easy to make that ultimately will continue to move us toward ultimate nutrition, where we are using whole foods in an effective and efficient way. Okay? These fuelings that we use are safe. They're ultra nutritious. And I will say this. On a day, I still use the fuelings, not because I have to, but because I want to. But on the days that I use the fuelings, I see a difference. I feel better at the end of the day. I know that the nutrition in them is solid, and it's good, and it's helping me a lot. And a lot of my clients say the same thing.
Milan.
Yeah.
How many
fuelings do you like to use now that you're at the where you're at?
Yeah.
2 fuelings a day, 3? What do
It's a
you
great
like?
question. A lot of it depends on what I'm doing. So actually, when I was at the robotics competition this last weekend, we're sitting in bleachers, and I know that the only food source anywhere nearby is the concession stand with hot dogs, pizza, junk, right? Candy, whatnot. And so I took a bunch of fuelings, and I think on Friday, I think I had 4 fuelings. On Saturday, I think I had 3. There are days where I only have 1 or 2, but those are days when I'm at home and I have access to other things that I'm using.
Yeah.
So for me now, the fuelings, I just have them all the time. And if I'm in a position where I need a fueling, where it's time for a fueling, and I know that these are gonna be nutritious and they're convenient, they're right there, then I use them. So I don't necessarily have a specific number, but I'm still following the plan of I wanna eat several times throughout the day, and each of those times is a nutritious fueling, in essence, right? Some of them are Optavia fuelings, some of them are, a hard-boiled egg and an apple, that kind of thing.
Small amounts more often.
Small amounts more often throughout the day, Yep. These are strategically formulated to work within a bigger plan. That's the other part. Remember I said there are really, really smart people who spent thousands of hours and millions of dollars to develop a formula. Part of it is that these are strategically formulated to work within that larger plan. And then, believe it or not, and I know some people struggle to get to this point, they really are cost effective. And I tell people, if you're gonna get healthy, you're gonna pay for it somehow. But for those of you that are on program, imagine being able to fuel your body 6 times a day, and each time needs to be balanced, it needs to be healthy, it needs to have the right vitamins and minerals and protein and all of that kind of stuff. Imagine doing that with whole foods. You'd be spending a lot of money because you'd be making 6 small itty bitty meals a day. And really, if you're gonna be doing that, you might as well be doing it with the fuelings that are prepackaged, formulated, work with the plan.
Even like that though, you don't know the science behind it. It's
Right.
just like, I don't know how many, like making a lean
Yeah.
and green meal, I don't know how many fats, carbs, and proteins I really just had.
And I asked that question, I went to the, at Meyer,
Yeah.
the meat counter. If you look at all their meat, it doesn't, except the burger, none of them tell you how lean it is.
Yeah.
So I went back there and asked them, well, hell, they can't tell me either.
Yeah.
So it's really, and I looked at the prepackaged stuff, like they had some there, and, but it's not marked, he said, you just can't do that with a roast, or a steak, or any of the, or pork, or whatever, so you can't, I don't know.
Yeah. You can do some research online. I mean, that's how I found, 6 ounces of chicken, which is the serving size on this program, has anywhere from 51 to 54 grams of protein. And the fat content depends on how much fat is on the piece. I mean, if you cut it off and if you really trim it up and all that kind of stuff. But again, yeah, we know that the lean and green is gonna give us the right amount that we need for our lean and green meal, and we know that the fuelings are gonna give us the nutrients that we need for the rest of the day. But if I'm doing the things like, hard-boiled eggs or, fruits and vegetables and things like that, I don't know how much of all the different stuff that I'm getting. Now, over time, we can do the research and we can learn those things. But in the beginning, it's simple, it's complete, we know that it works in a bigger plan, and it helps us to get to where we need to be, right?
With the farm eggs, they seem more rich.
Yeah.
We still put them under the same category?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And I don't know if they're different or not.
Some of that you do just have to throw to the wind. You don't know, you don't always know which things have been genetically modified, which things are, have been affected by different agricultural practices, things like that. Unfortunately, there's a lot of those things that are kind of out of our hands. All right, again, timing is so important, right? So we want to start with a nutritious and simple fueling system, right? Fueling our body 6 times a day in a balanced way. We want to install the habits of health, and actually the simplicity of the meal plan or the nutrition plan helps us to focus on the other habits of health as well. We can learn the principles for transition and maintenance when that time comes. Then we reintroduce whole foods in a timely, strategic, and effective way. And then fuelings are still available, like we talked about a few minutes ago. I still use the fuelings because they're just convenient and they work, right? Sometimes I have one fueling, Optavia fueling during a day, and sometimes I have 5. It depends on what my day looks like, where I'm at, how much I need the convenience of what that offers, okay? All right, counterintuitive concept number 4. There we go. It is probably better to keep my health journey a secret until I have been successful at reaching my goal. Well, sometimes we think, I'm going to keep this under wraps. I don't want anybody to know because, well, let's talk about why. But let's look at the truth first. The truth is, accountability plays a key role in successful achievement of goals. Put accountability in place early and often. All right? So let's talk about why don't people talk about their journey. Why do you guys think?
Because they don't want to explain when they didn't
Well,
really lose
they
anything.
don't, if they fail, they don't wanna,
Fear of failure is the number one. That's at the top of my list, right? We're afraid to fail, and if I fail and I told a whole bunch of people I'm doing this, I'm going to look like an idiot, right?
Right.
But is that serving us well?
No.
At the end of the day, it's not. It's one of those hard things that's really important. It's an important part of our journey, right?
I think it's like anything, might have a few good days, and all of a sudden you might have one that's not so good.
Yeah.
You know, it's just,
Right.
I think that's the way with anything.
Sometimes the accountability just keeps our feet that much closer to the fire,
Right.
right? And the truth is, if you stick to the program, you will succeed, right? We can coach you toward that. What else? Why else do you think?
I think one thing is that then every time you go to eat, you're thinking somebody's watching you. And
Somebody's
otherwise, just put
watching
that out
me.
of the way, you know.
It always feels like. Yeah, we can kind of feel like our life is under a microscope and people are watching us and judging us, right? So yeah.
So yesterday I had like a family meal. And I did buy like a cheesecake thing, a variety of cheesecakes. And I swear today, I seen that and I'm like, I swear I felt my hands trembling on it, that darn thing. I did it.
Good
But
for you.
Good for you.
Let's give it up for Grace. For not, yeah.
Well, no one for me, I had to hold her back.
you were the one holding her back. That's good.
no, literally, that was crazy.
Oh.
Oh my God. But anyway, yes.
Yeah. And again, I want to encourage you all. This is a season. It's a phase, and it does come to an end. I've told you, I'm at the place now where I can eat some of those things. They're part of a pleasure meal a couple of times a week. So you don't have to say goodbye to those things forever. But you do have to say goodbye to your old way of doing life. You do. You have to burn those ships. We've talked about that before. That's
Yeah,
good.
but that's the reward, knowing that this isn't permanent, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
I mean, you just say, hey, just not for now,
Yeah.
you know? Down the
Don't
road,
back down.
you know?
Of course I'm having this guy and this guy over here saying, you should feel sorry for yourself because you can't smoke, you can't eat, you can't do this. And over here, this other one's saying, do it, do it, do it. So I'm fighting like two little enemies over here.
We're gonna have to line you up with a therapist too, huh?
Are you saying
She
like
just put
the
smoke, too.
angel as a double? Is that what's going on here?
We can do it.
And she had Rex on the devil side. I don't know if you guys all noticed that.
Right, so anyway.
Oh, no.
All right, what are some other reasons that people, that we don't want to tell other people what we're doing?
Sometimes you like the element of surprise,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Like, okay, you wanna hear people say, wow, all of a sudden you look thin.
Yeah, and if you told them
I
up
mean,
front, then it
Yeah.
kind of
Right.
spoils the surprise. Yeah, yeah, good point.
It
Good
is a
point,
real
yeah.
good point.
Yeah,
What else?
Well, because sometimes other people judge you for
Right.
wanting to be healthier.
Yeah.
And because they're not in a spot in their life that they want to feel that good, or maybe, I'm gonna say look good, because I'm stuck on trying to look good, which I gotta change, okay? But, you know, they're gonna sit there and kinda give you that look like you're doing something stupid because they don't wanna change.
right.
Yeah, you might be labeled as one of those people,
Mhm.
right? The
You know,
crazy
do-
people, or the people that are fanatical, or you think you're better than everybody, you know,
Yeah,
whatever
no.
else. Yep.
And you know, too, it's like Terry today with her 3 pounds,
Mhm.
okay? And I got on the scale and I'm kinda happy with where I was at.
Yeah.
But then when she wants to tell me that, well, I really don't wanna tell her where I've been, cause I don't wanna upset her, you know?
No, I'm his cheerleader, I'm proud of him.
Yeah.
I can have a
I know
little bit
that.
of a
Right.
downslide and still be happy for
I
you.
mean, we're all into the same thing, you know?
Yeah.
It's-
Yeah, there's a couple of people I wish could be in here tonight because I obviously coaching them, I know their story. And I remember the days that they said, how in the world did that happen? I stayed on program and gained 2 pounds. What in the world is that all about? And now well, Amy is a perfect example of that. Her, you know, and I can say that because she's very public about her journey, but it's been like this, but she has steadily gone down and now she's down
She looks
over
good,
60
yeah.
pounds. It's amazing, the change that she's
Saw her
experienced.
yesterday, she's really lost it.
But it's taken time, but she's been consistent. I think sometimes we're embarrassed that we've had to seek help. We tried it, and now I had to join a program, you know, or whatever. But the truth is, there's a reason these programs work, and sometimes we need that help. And then there's trust issues. I think this goes back to a little bit of what you said, Terry, that sometimes, you know, we don't trust the way that people are gonna use the information that we give them. Are they gonna use this against me? Are they gonna tempt me on purpose and needle me about it? You know,
Right.
sometimes we don't trust people. But here's some reasons that I think, you know, why accountability is so important. Accountability is a powerful motivator to keep us moving forward. We know that it'll help keep our feet to the fire. Accountability that includes other people is an inspiration. Even those people that are gonna give you a hard time because you think you're better than them, they don't really think that. Honestly, it's their own insecurity because something is poking them in their own spirit when they see somebody else trying to do something that's right. It's the same with faith and things like that. It's not that I'm trying to be better than anybody else. I'm just trying to do what's best and right for me. And people know that. But at the end of the day, that's how we respond, right? But the truth is that when we do take a step forward, when we raise the standard for ourselves in where other people can see us, it inspires them and it helps them to feel like, you know what, maybe I could do it. And if we have enough people doing it here in this community, we can inspire more and more people to get healthy, right? It keeps us focused. When there's accountability, it keeps our eyes on the prize. Accountability bolsters the action of taking ownership and responsibility for the thing that we're being held accountable to. So responsibility is huge. Remember we talked several weeks ago. Whose responsibility is your health? It's yours, right? And then it challenges us to operate in integrity. So here's some accountability measures. Here's some things that we can do. First of all, we can tell our family and friends about our journey. Yeah, the way we tell them is important. You know, we don't want to go and rub their face in it or brag or anything like that. But I think what we can do, we need to have kind of almost a serious conversation and say, listen, I don't know if anybody else is, but I'm concerned about my health. I want to be healthy. Go back to your why. I want to be there for my grandkids. I want to be there for my spouse. I want to be there for the people that are important in my life. I don't want to just be there, present, in person, but I want to be healthy. I want to be vital. I want to have impact in my world. And so in order to do that, I'm taking a step of faith and I'm doing this journey. And I need your help, right? And so sometimes we need to, even though other people are jabbing and laughing and, you know, doing whatever, we need to be willing to get serious and say, listen, I really need your help with this. This is a big deal to me. And that takes humility. That takes courage. But being able to say that helps us, right? We need to journal our progress and our failures. Journal our progress and our failures. We can learn a lot from our failures. Our failures can inspire us. They can teach us. They can help us to grow. We need to set goals and track our progress toward those goals. It's kind of like the journaling part, but tracking our progress. Some days that's going to be encouraging and motivate us, and some days it's going to be a kick in the pants that we need to keep us on track. Here's another one. Answer your coach's phone calls.
That's
Now,
a good one.
that's one that I've been told to teach on, because we are here for a reason, to help, and we want to encourage and we want to be there, but you got to answer your coach's phone calls. And then live your journey out loud. One of the things that I think, again, I'm going to use Amy as an example. One of the things I think has really helped her is she's been vocal right on Facebook. Hey, I'm going on this health journey. Hey, I'm down 10 pounds. Hey, I'm doing this. Hey, today was tough. And she's sharing her story in a public space, online, on Facebook, right?
That's why we're here.
Really? Whose story did you see?
Amy Lozer.
Oh, Amy's. So she's the one, yeah.
So I've known her forever.
Yep.
And, yeah.
Yeah, so that's an inspiration, or at least has put a little bit of hope in you to say, maybe I need to check this thing out. And we never know who's watching, who we're going to help, and how that's also going to hold us accountable and keep us moving forward, right?
And how much has she lost?
A lot.
Yeah, she's I think she's
has
over
gone
60 pounds now.
way down. She
She's a
used to
little
be
girl.
slender anyway, and then she kinda, work and life and
Right.
Having
everything,
kids.
like it does everybody.
Mhm.
But she turned 40 this year, and she decided she wanted to get on board with something. And her mom is a real good friend of mine, because even when we were in Florida, and we were over to Sarah's house for dinner, and I knew right away she was cooking different. And so I said, are you doing the diet that, she goes, well, I'm not doing it totally. She goes, but yeah, Amy's helping me, and, so. And she's mid-60s, so, yep, so it's kind of, yeah.
I'll have to get on there, I haven't been on Facebook much.
Well, it was Leslie and Gary's visual that did it for me. I mean, they were walking in our neighborhood and I saw, them physically, and the next thing you know, pictures on them, I'm like, Lynn, look at them, look at,
They went back to Arizona and we was not even aware of the program, that they were
Right.
doing it until
Yep.
they posted it, and wow.
So she said, here we lost this weight, and check this out, on, over the holidays. Over the holidays.
And Thanksgiving,
And on
Christmas.
a vacation to Hawaii.
Thanksgiving, Christmas,
And they
and
lost
Hawaii.
weight. So I'm just like, who does that?
Right, yeah.
Which is pretty safe.
Wow, that's.
So, yeah, living your journey out loud. I know it's hard to do. It's hard to put ourselves out there, but doing that helps us to be accountable, and it inspires other people. And ultimately, here's one of the things I love about, you asked about the coaching thing last week. None of you, I didn't approach any of you and ask you if you were interested. I've just shared stuff online. I've shared Amy's story. I've shared the Brinks' story. They've shared their stories. And people come to me. And the nice thing is, I don't feel like I have to be a salesman. All I have to do is tell people what's going on, and then people come to me and say, I want to know more. And then I get to share it with them.